Have you ever wondered what actually happens to your data when you turn on a VPN? Everyone talks about privacy and security, but here's what they don't tell you. Right now, every single thing you do online is like shouting your secrets across a crowded Starbucks. Your bank password, everyone hears it. Your Netflix binge habits, posted on a billboard. That embarrassing Google search at 2 a.m., yeah, your internet provider saw that too. But here's the thing that might shock you. When you use a VPN, you're not just hiding your data. You're fundamentally changing how the internet works for you. You're creating something that sounds like science fiction, but is happening millions of times every second across the world. It's called encrypted tunneling, and once you understand it, you'll never look at public Wi-Fi the same way again. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to understand exactly how VPNs create invisible highways for your data that nobody can see into, not hackers, not your internet provider, not even the government. And I'm going to show you why this matters way more than you think. So let's start with something you probably do every single day without thinking twice about it. You walk into your local coffee shop, order your usual latte, pull out your laptop, and connect to their free Wi-Fi. Seems harmless, right? You're just checking your email, scrolling Instagram, maybe paying a couple bills online. What could go wrong? Here's what's really happening. The moment you connect to that public network, your data starts flying through the air like postcards. Not sealed envelopes, postcards. Anyone with basic tech skills can read them. Your email login, postcard. Your credit card number, postcard. That message you sent your friend complaining about your boss, postcard flying through a coffee shop where your boss might be sitting 3 tables away. Think about it this way. Normal internet traffic is like having a conversation in the middle of Times Square during New Year's Eve. Sure, you're talking to one specific person, but thousands of people can hear every word. They can see who you're talking to, what you're saying, where you're standing, everything. Your internet service provider is right there taking notes on every conversation you have. The coffee shop owner is listening in, and somewhere in that crowd, there's definitely someone with bad intentions just waiting for you to shout out your credit card number. Everyone tells you to just use strong passwords and you'll be fine. But that's not what actually happens. What really happens is that your data travels across the internet in plain readable text. It's like writing your diary entries on transparent paper and mailing them through a post office where everyone from the mail carrier to random people on the street can hold it up to the light and read every word. And this matters because every single day, billions of pieces of personal information get stolen this way. Credit card fraud, identity theft, your private photos ending up places they shouldn't be. It's not just about paranoia. It's about understanding that the internet was built like a highway with no walls. Everyone can see everyone else's cargo. And in today's world, that cargo is your entire digital life. But here's where things get interesting. There's this technology that completely changes the game. And I'm not talking about just hiding your data. I'm talking about fundamentally transforming how your information travels through the internet. It's what I call the invisible highway system. Here's how it works. When you turn on a VPN, your device doesn't just connect to the internet anymore, it does something way cooler. It builds a tunnel. Not a physical tunnel, obviously, but imagine your data as a car driving from your house to a destination. Without a VPN, that car is driving down a public street where everyone can see inside your windows, read your license plate, and follow you wherever you go. With a VPN, your car enters an underground tunnel before it even hits the main road. Nobody on the surface can see your car anymore. They don't know who's driving. They don't know what you're carrying. They don't even know where you're going. All they can see is that a car entered a tunnel somewhere and another car exited somewhere else. But they can't connect the two. This matters because suddenly everyone who was watching you just lost their view. Your internet provider? They can't see what websites you're visiting anymore. That hacker at the coffee shop? They're looking at gibberish. Even the websites you're visiting can't tell where you're actually located. You've become invisible while still being able to go anywhere you want. Think about Sarah. Sarah's a freelance designer who works from coffee shops all over Chicago. She's doing everything right. Strong passwords, antivirus software, updates her apps regularly. But what Sarah doesn't realize is that every time she logs into her client portal on public Wi-Fi, she's broadcasting her login credentials to everyone in that coffee shop. She's essentially standing up and shouting her password across a room full of strangers. Last month, Sarah noticed something weird. Someone had accessed her client files from an IP address in Russia. They'd stolen 3 months of work and tried to sell it to her own clients. How did this happen? She did everything she was supposed to do, right? Wrong. She didn't understand that the connection itself was the problem, not her behavior. Now, this next pattern is particularly sneaky because it involves something that sounds protective but actually makes you more vulnerable. Your internet service provider promises to keep you safe. They say they're protecting your connection. But here's what they don't mention. They can see everything you do, every website you visit, every video you watch, every search you make, and they're legally allowed to collect that data, package it up, and sell it to advertisers. It's like having a mail carrier who opens every piece of your mail, makes a photocopy, sells those copies to marketing companies, and then delivers your already opened letters to you. You might trust your mail carrier not to steal from you, but do you trust them to keep records of your private correspondence and sell them to the highest bidder? That's your ISP, every single day. This is what I call the trust trap. We assume that because someone is providing us a service, they're on our side. But internet providers aren't just delivering your data, they're harvesting it. Comcast knows you binge-watched an entire season of that embarrassing reality show. AT&T knows you Googled symptoms for that weird rash. Verizon knows you were shopping for engagement rings last month, and they're all keeping detailed records. Your brain does this because we evolved in small tribes where everyone actually did have your best interests at heart. Back when your survival depended on cooperation, trusting your service providers made sense. But in today's world, your internet provider is a massive corporation with billions of dollars in advertising revenue riding on your data. They're not your friend, they're your product. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let me blow your mind for a second. The encryption part of a VPN isn't just about scrambling your data. It's about creating a completely different language that only you and the VPN server understand. Imagine you're a spy during World War II. You need to send a message across enemy territory. You don't just hide the message. You write it in a code that would take thousands of years to crack even if someone intercepted it. That's what modern encryption does with your data. It transforms your readable information into mathematical chaos that looks like random noise to anyone who doesn't have the key. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Every single piece of data you send over the internet is vulnerable. Not just sometimes, always, unless you encrypt it. Your bank knows this, which is why their website uses encryption. But what about everything else? Your casual browsing, your social media, your emails. Without a VPN, all of that is traveling through the internet like a conversation in a library. Everyone's pretending not to listen, but they absolutely can hear every word. What's actually happening is that encryption creates a mathematical puzzle so complex that even the world's most powerful supercomputers would need billions of years to solve it. We're talking about numbers with hundreds of digits, keys so long that if you tried to guess them, you'd have better odds of winning the lottery every single day for 1,000,000 years straight. This isn't because technology companies are paranoid. It's because the math itself provides the security. It's the difference between locking your door with a padlock someone can pick in 30 seconds versus locking it with a vault door that would take longer than the age of the universe to crack. That's what good encryption gives you. Not just privacy, mathematical certainty. And once you see this, you can't unsee it. Every time you connect to public Wi-Fi without a VPN, you're choosing to have that conversation in Times Square instead of in a soundproof room. You're choosing the transparent diary pages instead of the locked safe. It explains why data breaches keep happening at coffee shops and airports and hotels. It's not that those places have bad security, it's that open Wi-Fi networks are fundamentally insecure by design. Now, there's another layer to this that most people completely miss. It's not just about encrypting your data, it's about hiding where you are. This is what I call the location illusion. And it's possibly the most powerful thing a VPN does. Here's how it works. When you browse the internet normally, every website can see your IP address. Think of your IP address like your home address for the internet. It tells websites not just who you are, but exactly where you're located. Down to your city, sometimes your neighborhood. Websites use this to show you different content, different prices, even different availability based on where you're sitting. Ever notice how the same flight costs more when you search from New York than from a small town in Kansas? That's IP-based pricing. The airline sees your fancy New York IP address and assumes you can pay more. Or how Netflix has completely different shows available depending on what country you're in. That's IP-based content restriction. The entire internet treats you differently based on this one number. But when you use a VPN, something magical happens. Your traffic exits that encrypted tunnel somewhere else entirely. Maybe you're sitting in Seattle, but as far as the internet knows, you're in London, or Tokyo, or Miami. You choose. Suddenly, you're not limited by your physical location anymore. You're not being charged extra because of your zip code. You're not being blocked from content because you're on the wrong side of an imaginary digital border. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus travels constantly for work. He's based in California, but spends half his life in airports and hotels. Marcus understood something crucial. He realized that his work laptop contained access to client data worth millions of dollars. If someone intercepted his connection during a video call from a hotel in Dallas, they wouldn't just get his passwords. They'd get access to confidential business strategies, unreleased product designs, competitive advantages worth fortunes. So Marcus never connects to any network without his VPN, ever. Hotel Wi-Fi, VPN first. Airport lounge, VPN first. Even his home network, VPN. Because Marcus gets that, it's not about being paranoid. It's about understanding that in the digital world, your location data is constantly being harvested and sold. Your connection is constantly being monitored. And unless you actively protect it, you're handing over control of your digital identity to whoever wants to look. Notice how Marcus doesn't have some special technical degree. He just understood the pattern. The internet tracks everything by default. Privacy isn't the default state, surveillance is. And the only way to flip that script is to take active control of your connection before you ever type a single password. Here's what most people don't realize. It's not actually about whether you have something to hide. It's about whether you want someone else deciding what you're allowed to keep private. Think about your physical mail. You don't leave all your letters open on your front porch for anyone to read, right? Not because you're hiding crimes. Because privacy is a basic human expectation. The people who succeed online don't have better passwords or fancier computers. They understand that every connection is a potential vulnerability. Every public network is a security risk, and the only way to protect yourself is to control the tunnel your data travels through. Once you see it this way, everything changes. These patterns aren't personal failures. They're predictable traps that catch everyone who doesn't understand how the internet actually works. But now that you understand encrypted tunneling, IP masking, and how your data normally travels like postcards through the mail, you can make informed choices about when and how to protect yourself. So here's what we've uncovered. Your normal internet connection is like driving a glass car down a public highway where everyone can see inside. Your internet provider is following you with a notebook, writing down everywhere you go. Random hackers are looking for unlocked doors. And websites are charging you different prices based on where they think you can afford to pay. But encrypted tunneling changes all of that. It wraps your glass car in titanium. It routes you through underground highways where nobody can follow. It makes you appear to be somewhere you're not, giving you control over how the internet sees you. And it does all of this using mathematics so complex that breaking it would take longer than the universe has existed. Remember the trust trap, plus the location illusion? This all connects to a fundamental truth about the modern internet. Privacy isn't given to you. You have to build it yourself. And a VPN is one of the most powerful tools you have for building that invisible highway between you and the rest of the digital world. The question isn't whether you need protection online. The question is whether you're willing to take the 30 seconds it requires to turn on a VPN before you connect. Because now you know what's happening behind the scenes. Your data's flying through the air like postcards. Your ISP is harvesting your browsing history. That coffee shop Wi-Fi is about as private as announcing your passwords over the shop speaker system. You can't unknow this now. Every time you see that public Wi-Fi network, you're going to think about that encrypted tunnel. Every time you type a password, you're going to wonder who else can see it. And that's exactly the awareness that keeps you safe in a world where your digital life is constantly being watched, recorded, and sold. So next time you pull out your laptop at Starbucks, ask yourself this: am I driving my glass car down the public highway where everyone can see my private information? Or am I taking the underground tunnel where I control who gets to know where I'm going and what I'm carrying? Because once you see the difference, the choice becomes pretty obvious.